We're going to take a little bit of a short break from the political stuff and talk with Chris Brentle. Good morning.
EC.
Well, I guess
great advice, by the way.
Yeah. Well, and you think about it. I mean, now that doesn't work for the Super Bowl. It doesn't work for anybody but works for the Super Bowl, because right now anybody but the Seahawks and the Patriots would be great. It would be Tampa Bay and the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'd be more excited about it. Which actually brings me to a question for you. Why don't we talk about the worst fans in America? And this could be fans that just don't care about their teams, fans that are annoying, fans that are outright crude and rude, fans that are violent in the case of the Raiders. Although I think that who if you had to pick, and we'll go with each sport too. We won't just keep it to football. We'll go with a bunch of different sports, and we'll save the NFL for last. If you had to pick the worst fans in college football, who would you pick?
Oh, that's a tough one. Because there's a lot of teams out there, but
and for the most part, college football fans behave. For the most part.
Now, that's a tough one, because I don't know the outline or whatever of a lot of these teams. But I'm gonna say Miami. I'm gonna say the Hurricanes, because that was a historic program for many, many years. They had a ton of support from that whole city for a while. But once they went mediocre in football, they simply just don't care about the Hurricanes down there anymore.
And that's where I was going to go with that too. I mean, you didn't see riots when they won. Like, you see some other teams in other sports, but they just dropped off the map. Yeah, and they've had decent programs since that run back in the 80s and 90s. They've had decent programs. They had a little bit of a stretch there where they were pretty good in the late 90s, early 2000s. But once that was over, I don't think they fill their stadium. I think they're just considered an also-ran program now, which is a shame. That's actually a really good pick.
Yeah, and like I said, they're kind of a bandwagon group. I just feel like that the Miami fans, if they were still good, they would care and they would show up. But if they don't, they're not the rabid college fans, like say fans for Florida State or even a Notre Dame, those type of schools. Because I consider Miami a big name, like Florida State, Notre Dame. I consider them they're a big name, but you don't hear about them much anymore. And then don't even look at this transcends football too. They really couldn't care less about Miami basketball
or the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Or their hockey team. Do they even? I don't even think they have a hockey team anymore. Yeah.
Do they in Miami?
The Panthers. Yeah, they're still.
Panthers are actually.
Yeah, I think they're still there. So I can see that. It's tough. It would be tough for me. I think with college football, Miami's that's a tough one to beat. I don't know if I can think of a team that would beat Miami football. I mean, I'm trying to think of a team that has terrible violent fans, but you don't see that a whole lot in college football. I mean, for the most part, college football is still in that tradition of just have fun.
Yeah,
for the most part.
I will say this: coming from Oklahoma State, in the Big 12 and around that area, the talk usually about worst fans is at Texas Tech, and I've never been to a game in Lubbock,
right?
But I remember Marcus Smart, the basketball game, shoved a Texas Tech fan. Okay. And I thought that was unjustified, but they're a really rowdy bunch, and they're kind of rough. But so if you wanted to go with a rowdy bunch that isn't very forgiving or nice to opposing teams, you probably go Texas Tech.
Okay, so that's okay. And from growing up in Big Ten country, you hear the same things about Ohio State. I mean, that's again, I don't know any specific instances, but it can get a little bit heated between Ohio State and Michigan, Penn State, Michigan. How about college basketball? And I actually have one. This is actually pretty close to home, and I actually found some info on it. College basketball, I don't know, who would you put on there as far as the worst fans?
That's tough to say. Personally, being from Kansas, I think KU fans are obnoxious. Honestly,
yeah.
they're absolutely obnoxious. I mean, I remember growing up listening to Kansas City radio, sports radio, and they'd lose a game to Duke or Arizona or Kentucky, a top 10 team, and they would panic. Or they'd win a game against a team they should beat by 15 points instead of 25. And these KU fans would call in a show and say, "Oh, we're terrible this year." Just obnoxious fan base.
Okay, well, and I had one, and I don't know a whole lot about college basketball, so maybe there are teams that are worse than this. But Maryland fans.
I can see that.
I have a list of the 5 worst Terrapin riots. It's just the 5 worst.
I think you win because riots, and then you had the number 5 in front of it. Yeah. So you win with that one.
Yeah, that's just the 5 worst. That's not even the best ones. And they riot when they lose. They riot when they win. So yeah, I think Maryland has the worst basketball fans. How about we'll go to the NBA. I'll just say mine, the Lakers, because they're fair weather fans.
Yeah, you could throw any LA fan, Lakers, Clippers, because when the Clippers are doing good,
it's the same people.
I'm pretty sure it's the same people putting on Clippers gear.
Yeah, it's the same people that show up for a Clippers game. It's the same building. They probably have the same seats. They have season tickets to both. Whichever one is winning, that's the one they'll use the season tickets. The rest get sold on StubHub.
They should move the Clippers, and I've always thought this, to San Diego, because I think San Diego.
That's where they started.
San Diego appreciates sports teams.
And
I think it worked there now.
And San Diego has boats.
Exactly, and it's one of the nicest cities in the country. So.
Well, and the Clippers a boat. So I mean, that's where they started. They should go back. I have no quabble with that. Is quabble a word? Quarrel?
That works.
Yeah. Okay. So do you agree the Clippers?
I'm agreeing. Yeah. I'm going to say Clippers, Lakers tie.
Yeah. LA fans.
LA fans in general.
Okay.
But let's put an NFL team there. It'll work.
Well, yeah.
I don't care about sports, but let's give them an NFL team.
We'll give them 2. It'll be the same fans not showing up for both of those. Okay. Major League Baseball. Worst fans have to be Phillies fans.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Phillies fans are just.
I was going to say Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay has good teams every other year when they don't blow out the roster.
Nobody shows up.
But nobody shows up. But that stadium's a dump. I don't blame them. The Phillies.
You could even say Miami, or Florida, before they changed.
Yeah, the Marlins.
They didn't have a fan base forever. I thought they were going to leave Miami.
Yeah, but the Phillies fans throw stuff.
They throw stuff.
Batteries, pill bottles. When Barry Bonds shows up, they throw prescription pill bottles at him. When
you got to give him
J.D. Drew shows up, they throw batteries.
Well, hey, you got to give him at least a B+ for being creative, throwing pill bottles and syringes. Well, we don't know if they threw syringes at Barry Bonds. That's a legend.
Sure. They at least threw pill bottles. I don't know about the syringes, but they now Philly fans
they weren't used, the syringes.
Yeah, Philly fans are notoriously bad, and again, it's the same people going to Eagles games throwing ice balls at Santa Claus. But
they had booed Santa Claus. Hey, what's with them hating Christmas? I don't understand these Eagle/Philly fans.
If you lived in Philly, you'd hate everything too. Trust me. I lived there. And the funny thing is, if I had to pick a Major League Baseball team, I don't like American League Baseball, so the Phillies would be my team. But I haven't been to a Phillies game since Pete Rose played there, so it's been a while.
The old artificial turf back then.
Yeah. So worst, your worst Major League Baseball team.
I can't argue with the Phillies. I mean that you could say if you're going a different direction, I'd say Marlins, and then Tampa was a good one because Tampa's been good for a few years now, and they still don't get people going to their games. Yeah. Bad enough to where they've thought about moving them. So.
And the easy pick would be to pick the Yankees, but really, they're just annoying. From everyone that I've known that's gone to a Yankees game, and they're not fans of the Yankees, they'll go. Apparently, the Yankees fans are polite. They don't bother anybody. The stadium's nice. I mean, the stadium's beautiful. So you don't really get this vibe that they're bad fans. They're just bandwagon jumpers, and their team might be not the most well run, but the fans aren't bad.
I think we all know my hatred for the New York Yankees. But I'd even say the Boston Red Sox fan base is more annoying. I find it very annoying when I'm walking through Wyoming or, say, Oklahoma, Kansas City, or Texas, and I see a bunch of people with Red Sox hats on. You are not from Boston. Take the Red Sox hat off. You are not part of the Red Sox nation.
And you didn't like the Red Sox until they won a World Series.
Exactly.
And you didn't like Neil Diamond until that stupid movie came out. Okay, which brings us to Which brings us to the worst NFL fans, which you go to Boston. These are the same people that are going to Red Sox games, yelling racial epithets at players. The Patriots fans are the worst fans in the league by far. They might be the worst fans in sports. I mean, just to bring up the story, I think 3 years ago, Torrey Smith, receiver for the Ravens, Saturday morning before the game. Actually, I think they had a Monday night game, but it was on Saturday. His younger brother dies in a motorcycle accident. Tragic motorcycle accident, gets hit by a car, dies in an accident. Torrey Smith decides, well, I'm going to play to honor my brother. So how do the New England Patriot fans respond? By throwing stuff at him and yelling racial epithets and saying that they're glad that his brother died.
Oh.
And then he goes out and puts up 3 touchdowns on him.
Well, good for him. They're pretty bad.
I understand. I understand you want to talk smack and that kind of stuff, but you gotta draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, have some sort of class.
Yeah. I mean, I think you draw the line at racial epithets and being glad that somebody's dead.
Very strange though. Boston kind of known for its racism.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing,
especially when it comes to sports, and it's weird how. You heard about this in New England games, but yet down in I haven't heard anything about that kind of stuff happening at Alabama college games or Mississippi games. You know what I mean? It's strange.
Well, and that's the thing. Boston and Buffalo are the two toughest places in the NFL for players of color to play. That's just the way it's always been. I mean, there's something about living in those northeast cold climates that makes people just dislike minorities. And look, I mean, and Patriots fans, on top of the racism, they have a unique ability to just dismiss any kind of behavior as long as they win.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I can't argue with that one either. The only thing I would say is the easy pick when the Raiders were in L.A. would be the Raiders fan base because, stabbings, beatings, plus they didn't care about the Raiders in L.A., so they went on all fronts there. But now that they're in Oakland, you can still put the Raiders there, stabbings, beatings.
I kind of think that some of that fan base went to the 49ers because you hear stories about 49ers fans beating up a Broncos fan in the parking lot after a game and that kind of stuff. Oh. Or was it the other way around?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure you were right. Niners.
But it's probably the same people, though. I mean, they're just moved over. But that's just an isolated incident. I mean, it certainly gives them honorable mention, gets them on the list. But I can't think of anything that beats the ability of even Saints fans when their team got busted for the bounties and all these suspensions and big huge fines. Saints fans handled it pretty well. They were disappointed in their team. They said, "Look, at least for the most part, there are always going to be a few fans that are going to stand up for their team no matter what. They think that's their duty." But you don't see that. Yeah, you don't see that with Patriots fans. For some reason, they are afraid to criticize Bill Belichick.
Yeah. And
let's face it, Bill Belichick's the problem. I don't think Robert Kraft is a bad guy. I think the Kraft family does a lot for charity, and they seem like good people. But until Bill Belichick is gone from that team, they're going to be considered low on the scale of trustability. And of course, this latest thing just proves that. I mean, that's cheating for the sake of cheating. It doesn't help anybody. It's almost like going into the locker room before the game and tying your opponent's shoelaces together. That's the level of cheating that this
They'll
is.
just untie him and go back out there.
Yeah, it's absolutely pointless. It would have made no difference in the game. They won, 45-7? They would have won 45-7 with 13 pounds of air in the balls.
No, don't. By the way, it reminds me, don't stand up. I tied your shoelaces together.
Yeah. Well, luckily I never leave the studio. Okay, what do we have going on in sports?
I got cowgirl basketball and NFL football.
Okay, sounds good. We'll see you. Actually, we won't see you next hour. We'll see you tomorrow. News Talk 1270 KIML.
The #1 talk show in Northeast Wyoming. Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML.